This is The Bottom Line with Onimwa.
He is an agribusiness leader with over 12 years of experience. He has a proven record in founding and scaling farmer cooperatives. Diboncha, a community farmer cooperative in Limbe, is a showcase of Baiye Gideon's prowess in grain processing, that is, maize, groundnut, soybeans, and wheat farming. He walks us through his experience in The Bottom Line with me, Bonimwa. Mr. Baiye Gideon, you are welcome to The Bottom Line with me, Bonimwa.
Thank you, Mr. Bonimwa. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It's been a wonderful time having this opportunity to talk with you.
First things first, what inspired you in this agricultural venture in Limbe, and how did your journey begin?
Thank you once more, Mr. Boni. My journey of becoming an entrepreneur is an embedded something into me. I always grow up knowing that working for someone is not the best option. So I was inspired. I always have the dream of owning a company, which is mine, and to see that I can contribute something in this society at the end of the day and leave my name in the sand of time. So having that inbuilt bond, it made me to create something each time. I started by harvesting oranges from Manfe. I transport it to Douala and sell at the marché central. And it was a good experience to see that I can raise funds in that aspect faster. I would buy oranges from orchards around Manfe, harvest it, transport it, bring to Douala around the marché central, sell and all that. Then I found out that oranges were doing well also in Diboncha, around 80 now. So I diverted my attention since the Manfe road was too tedious with the bad. So I decided to shift my attention towards Diboncha.
And what aspect of Diboncha or the Limbe ecosystem influenced you to get involved in this grain farming?
Diboncha actually, from my studies before going into grains production, maize particularly, I discovered in Diboncha is located in a very good geographical area. You have the sea at the left, you have the mountain at the right, and we are in between. That is a peninsula where it is very rich. You can cultivate maize or grains 3 times a year without irrigation. So that prompted my spirit to say, okay, if I can do maize there, I can do it 3 times a year without irrigation. And other parts of the country, you do it, you need irrigation. So that's what prompted me to choose Diboncha. And with Diboncha, there was an advantage of fresh maize, because I started by selling fresh maize. I discovered that fresh maize at the period of January up to May, when there's no maize within the country, we have maize in Diboncha. And that made me to see it as a market opportunity, because between that period, Diboncha is able to supply Douala with 200 bags of maize every day for 3 to 4 months without any interruption, until when maize season starts in other areas. Because maize start coming out from other areas around. You have it around April and May, which we supply maize from Diboncha from January to May.
Yeah, but Diboncha with the rains all around the year, it's not necessarily only positive. How do you do the farming, the harvesting? Why only Diboncha? Why didn't you go to a place like Nguti, Kumba, Muyuka, or another place? Why Diboncha? Because we have rains all over the year.
Yes, when the rains are not constantly heavy, you have rains, and rains do well with rains, especially corn. Corn doesn't do well on drought area. And Kumba, if you do other places like Guti, Kumba that you mentioned, if you put maize there, it will take you 6 to 7 months to get it out. But in Diboncha, you have 3 months max, your maize is ready. And if you follow the timing properly, you will miss the peak period when there is heavy rains in Diboncha. And that it is a very advantageous spot for us, because rains in Diboncha are spotted. You can plant now in about 3-4 hours there's rain, and you have rains and you have sun. So that is a very good atmosphere for grains, especially corn.
Yeah, when you talk about grains, I've heard about maize, groundnut, soybeans. What about wheat? Because wheat is in high demand now in the market, and wheat can grow well this way. I mean, you didn't. Why haven't you tried that?
Yeah, we've tried wheat, and what we wanted to do first, like I said, you talked about Community Farmers Cooperative, which is a grains processing company. We deal in all grains like corn, cassava, corn. Sorry, we deal with corn, soya beans, groundnut, wheat, millet. We have a processing plant which is installed for all these grains, even cocoa beans we can try.
Yes.
This processing plant is what will prompt us, because the first part is we discover in this business is that Cameroon doesn't have a problem to produce. We have a problem with post-harvest management.
Exactly.
We don't
Transformation
have
transformations
and things. We don't have a post-harvest management plant in Cameroon. There is none that is functional 100%. So when we were going into this business, we saw the aspect as cooperative. If we produce maize as farmers together, how do we handle it? That's why we came up with the idea to start with grains, with maize, and knowing that the drying unit that we bring in place will be able to dry all the other grains. So wheat is subsequently in our program, which is we have tasted about a hectare of wheat, which did well, but we have to scale it, and that is what we are working on to see how we can scale wheat.
And what have been the reactions of other community leaders in places around Limbe when you set up the facility there in Diboncha? Have they come to see you to say this or that?
Well, that is another challenge. The aspect of the community leaders, we have had a few of the community leaders who are appreciating the vision, and we've had like the chief around the village is very encouraging. He's trying to see that we scale the business into a way that it will create employment, and also it will draw in other outsiders to come in and, and discover his village. But the major challenge with all this about the other community leaders is they still don't see the visions. When you go extendedly out of, let's say, the administrative sector, we don't see the impact of the administrators around the FACO area to encourage that, because this is a massive investment that we expected to see them knowing about it to push us through with it.
Yes, and what about sponsorship or funding proposals from state institutions like the Ministry of Agriculture or the University of Baiye, for example? Have they come to see you, or have you gone to see them to talk about your project?
The Ministry of Agriculture have been our major sponsor all these years. We can say without the Ministry of Agriculture and without the minister particularly, we wouldn't have been able to achieve. We benefited some projects under the Ministry of Agriculture. Talking about collaborating with Baiye, we've tried
University of Baiye.
The University of Baiye, we've tried a couple of times, but we couldn't pull through because it's still not really very much, they have not still tapped into the vision, because the vision is a vision that if it's well managed, it's going to transform even the agricultural sector in Baiye, because we have practical equipment that could be used.
But this entails pushing your idea across the table. Let the people of the university, those in the university, let them understand that vision, because you have to sell that vision to them.
Definitely, we are trying to do that. We are trying to push our vision beyond even the level of Ministry of, the University of Baiye. We want to push that beyond, because it's a vision that would not only create jobs for the agri-funds, for the FACO sector, but the country at large, because our major vision is to transform grains into finished products, and those finished products we get like wheat. We can transform wheat into grease. Grease is an additive that they use in beer. We can transform groundnut into groundnut oil. We can produce groundnut paste, which is used for food industries. So we have many of these equipment which are already in place. And
yes, can you walk us through a typical day in your operations in the farm? That is from the farm to the market. How do you get that done every day? A typical day in your daily operations.
Our daily operation starts, let's say, After, I will go in by saying after we've planted the maize, which is maize normally take 3 months for it to get ready. Once the maize is bought at the factory, we have a unit, what we call a cross-flow drying unit. We start with threshing, dehusking, packaging, and ready for the market. How does the threshing work? It means you come with the maize with the stalks and peelings. We thresh the maize. We have a unit, what we call a thresher dehusker, that threshes 10 tons of maize an hour.
Wow.
So when you thresh 10 tons of maize, you send it to a compartment where we call the dryer. The dryer will dry it, and then you send to another compartment called the selector or a vibrator. It will select the grains based on the specification of the buyer. For example, you have brasseries, they need more grains that are bigger, you have bigger grains. You have some other companies like OK Food or Nestle, they need smaller grains. So when we select, we take to another compartment where it's a badging system. It can badge up to 1,000 bags an hour. Just like the selector selects 1,000 bags an hour, and it sends it to the badging system where it will bag in 50 kgs or 25 kgs, depending. It does 1,000 bags an hour. Now, when you do all that, you will have the waste, which you have different varieties. We have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 that will be coming out from the selector. You can package and send different qualities. And the qualities that we send to the market, we call it first quality. The grade 1 is the first quality, because you have 0 impurities like aflatoxin. You have 0.1% aflatoxin. Foreign matter 0.1% foreign matter. Stones, you don't have stones in it because we select it properly. Which these food industries like Nestle, OK Food, brasseries, they use it directly in their production unit to produce their beer, to produce Cerelac, they don't need to select.
Yes, I've heard the names of the brasseries, Nestle. Have you got into any partnership with these big multinationals?
Personally, we have tried to get in contact with, we have a contract with brasserie, we have a contract with OK Food, to produce. Brasseries is in talks with us to supply them 300 tons of maize every month. And OK Food need 50 tons of groundnut every month.
And you are capable of doing that?
We are capable of doing that. We have the land to do that. Presently, we have 200 hectares of land, which we took from the CDC, which we are trying to develop. But the challenges there now is to raise the funds to run the 200 hectares. That's the production, the running capital to produce on these 200 hectares, because we don't just want to do business. We are scaling out now. We've already put everything in place. The factory is operational. The major challenge now is the running funds to be able to run 200 hectares, because these 200 hectares, for example, I want to give you an example of what will cost you to get a hectare done. A hectare of farm where you use a tractor, we have a tractor in place that can plant this a hectare. One tractor can plant 3.5 hectares in a day.
Wow.
Now, but you don't use a tractor directly. You need to prepare the land. The land preparation is a major investment in this, and that is why we are failing in most of the grain sector in Cameroon, because we don't have fields where tractor can work easily. Because you need to bring a tractor, a bulldozer, till the soil, level it for the tractor to be able to move freely. Where you can have 200, 300, 400 or 5,000 hectares of land well prepared. The tractor will just move, because the tractor needs to move at least 200 meters before it turns. You can walk in let's say 10 meters in the tractor, so you need 200 meters for the tractor to drive in that length and plant on the 200 meter stretch and turn back. So with this challenge, we are not able to supply brasseries. We are trying to work with the banks, which is a major challenge to get funding to run the 200 hectares of farm of groundnut and soya beans. So that is the challenge.
Yeah, I was coming to this question. You talked about Nestle, brasseries, and OK Foods. How do you sustain production or productivity in this venture? Because there must be that sustenance of production. How do you sustain production?
how do we...
And quality too, and the quality of your yes.
Yeah, since we can produce at the scale that we can give to, the scale that they need, we have an understanding to give them minimum of what we can get, like 10 tons every month, 5 tons every month, which we can source out from some farmers, and then we do the post-harvest management for the grains. For example, like groundnut, we can buy groundnut from North, bring it to the factory, select it properly, dry it for their specifications, and package and sell. The same goes for corn. Since we already have a post-harvest management company which can handle the number of grains, the number of the tonnage of corn, because we can do, the capacity of the factory is 40 tons a day.
Yeah.
So we can dry up to 40 tons. It means if you come with groundnut, we can dry it. The dryer takes 10 tons and it's flash drying, which means you flash dry in 2 hours. We can flash dry, select it and package it. And so that's how we are able to meet up for now and to give them minimum of what they require. So it keeps them it still makes them to import, because we cannot supply and the country cannot supply them with what they need, so they're still importing. Our priority now is to scale our production to be able to meet up with what they need, and which is our vision by 2025, 2027, 2028.
Yes, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you face in this agribusiness? We know funding is foremost, but that's not all. I mean, there are other challenges that you face.
Yeah, the major challenges, like you said, funding is the foremost challenge. You have climate orientation. The climate has changed.
Good.
Like this year, rains, we didn't have rains up to around April. So it makes the season to change. And this is a major challenge, because at the time you're producing, you happen to be in a period of rainy seasons, which managing grains at that time is a tedious aspect. And then you also have labor. We have to mechanize the system. There is huge deficit in terms of labor. When you look around now, most of the youths are not into, you don't have workers, you don't have manual labor, because many youths are now into other online businesses. They are not pushed by working on the production, that they want to work in farms and all that. So if we don't mechanize, we will not be able to meet the demand in the market, because presently the demand for grains, corn, soybeans, groundnut, wheat is huge, and you cannot use labor. So the only way is we need to mechanize, and we don't have the equipment. We don't have the equipment to mechanize. So that's one of the major challenges. And now talking about funding,
yes,
we have a challenge in terms of the funding, because most of the banks don't work with agriculture, especially, let me not say agribusiness, because there are certain agribusinesses like Nestle, Guinness, they are agribusiness in a different dimension. So those banks can work with them. They use finished product, but us who are the producers of the raw material, we have challenge in getting funding from these guys, because most often you approach banks, they tell you we don't have an agronomist that understands. And secondly, agriculture, you need a grace period. For example, if I'm doing corn, if you give me 50 million, for example, and the 50 million, you need to give me grace period of 3-4 months. The banks need to give that 4 months grace period for you to prepare the land, plant, and then you start harvesting the 4th month. And sometimes the banks find it difficult to gives you a 4 months grace period where no money is coming in. So that aspect is affecting. It is affecting how we can get funding. So the only way we can be surviving is only leaning with the state, trying to see what can come up from the state and all that. So we keep lobbying from the state to intervene, maybe create an agricultural bank where we can get funding. For example, we have access, we have the production unit, for example, to transform grains and all that, but we don't have the funding to produce, and farmers are not there to work. The most farmers that we have, like the cooperators, they work minimum farms, maybe a hectare, a quarter hectare, to collect all this. For you to make 300 tons of maize monthly is a challenge.
Don't go away as we pause for a commercial break.
Goshen Land City, a cozy way of living at home away from home. A majestic twin tower situated at Limbola, opposite the entrance to Mile 6 Beach Limbe. Beautifully couched between Mount Cameroon and the Atlantic Ocean. We offer various packages: business class lodges with 2 bedrooms, executive apartments with 3 bedrooms, royal attic suites with 2 bedrooms. All provided with luxurious sitting rooms, Porsche bedrooms, well-equipped functional kitchens, exquisite toilets, and sea-view verandas, giving you an idea of Equatorial Guinea by night. A standby generator ensuring constant electricity supply, full autonomy and clean running water, Wi-Fi, TV packages, secure parkings, plus laundry, shuttle, and car rental services available. We are ideally suited for couple, family, or group stays. Whether visiting or holidaying in the tourist city of Limbe, Goshen Land City is your best bet. Discover Goshen Land City for its exquisite beauty, and you'll come back for its impeccable services. Contact us at 675-113-244 or 688-358-436.
Welcome back. We have changed our location because of the rains in Limbe. We'll talk about climate change, and it is real here in Limbe. So how has climate change or unprecedented weather climate affected your production in your cooperative?
Thank you, Mr. Bonnie. It is a very challenging aspect for us. Taking example for this year, the climate this year has been very, very terrible. For example, we did a campaign this year which started on the 15th of March. The crop we planted from the 15th of March 2025, nothing germinated, especially in the Tiku Peninsula where we cultivated about 25 hectares of farm. Nothing was able to be germinate there because there was no rain from the 15th of March up to the 15th of April. There was no rain in Tiku. We redid the same farm the second time. There was no rain again for the period from the 15th of April up to the 28th of April. So we still have a 2 or 2 weeks gap where there was no rain, so nothing germinated. It's only rains came in the Tiku area around the 28th and the 29th, which we had a few rains and all that. So that has been a very huge loss for us. So that taken in consideration, we understand now that the climate has changed. So the season should start in April. Those are the statistics we are taking. But when it comes to agriculture, we take the risks before you learn from it. So we could not do anything at this point.
Yes, but people listening to you, they want to have a comprehensive list of what you produce in your cooperative and see the possibility of shareholders coming in, taking shares and scaling up production and of course visibility too.
Once more, Mr. Bonnie, that is a very impressive question, which is something that we would love to honestly put it out there for everyone to get to understand more about COFARCOOP, our Community Farmers Cooperative. Community Farmers Cooperative is actually a grains processing company which we deal with grains like corn, soya beans, groundnut, wheat and millet. Now, our major production is corn. We produce corn, transform the corn into grease, which is our vision for 2027-2028. We want to first of all establish ourselves to be able to know what tonnage of maize we produce and how we can handle the grains before we move into the transformation part of maize into grease. As of now, there is high demand of grease in Cameroon. You have many companies, food companies that make
brewery companies,
and you have recently we are having a talk with a Lebanese company which in Cameroon just established about 3 months ago. The director has been calling that he needs 30 tons of grease every month. But we cannot supply because the only company producing grease in Cameroon, for example, is Maize Camp, which is it has been locked down for a while now. Good. And CFC is supplying only brasseries, and brasserie has demand for it. So corn production is our major power, which we want to handle the grains. And what we want to do and what we are doing now is to be able to come up with what we call farmers business scheme, where we have 250 to 500 farmers, where we can give them inputs they produce. We collect the inputs, we collect the corn, and then transform it, dry it, process it, and transform it and supply to brasseries and gideons. Now, the additional advantage we have in this business is these farmers, when you come in, we give you the input, we evaluate what we have given you. For example, if we give you input of 200,000, we make sure that after you are produced, we deduct the 200,000 and the balance is paid to your account directly at the bank of your choice. And we are working closely with banks to see banks that will be able to take these 200 farmers, create them an account, where when you bring in, we give you our input, you go to the field, you produce, and we collect the maize. Now we pay into your account, you go to the bank, you come to the us, we give you a pay voucher, you go to the bank transfers the balance into your account, and we repeat the cycle. Now when this corn comes to us in the factory, that is where we have our joker, that is where the business starts. When you collect the maize, we have a system where we transform our waste into other products. For example, we transform the corn stalks after we have threshed the corn, the cobs are transformed into mushroom. We transform the cobs into mushroom, which is we produce oyster mushroom, fresh mushroom, which we are packaging now to supply to.
This production of mushroom, takes me back to this question of there is no wastage, there's no waste in farm production. Everything is useful.
Everything is useful. Like you say, agriculture, the major thing that gives you money is your waste. If you are able to recycle your waste, so we are also into agro waste recycling. We recycle our waste into many products. We recycle the waste into mushroom. We recycle the waste into organic fertilizer, which we call eco-growth. I will talk about it later. We recycle the waste again into production of maggots for fish pond. We recycle the waste again into feed meals, animal feeds. For pigs, fish and so on. And birds. So our waste is our major business. Out of selling the grains to bazaars, we use the waste as a measure and to make more income for the cooperative. And for a new farmer who wants to get into what you are doing, what do you tell him exactly to do with the waste and everything? Because there's a lot to be done with the waste part of agriculture. What do you tell him? Yeah, as for a new farmer, we have programs where we are doing trainings to train farmers on transformation of your waste into a mushroom. You can transform your corn cobs into mushroom, which can help you as an additional means of protein in your family. Out of meat, you can use mushroom. Mushroom is very nutritive. And also we are also training the farmers on how to use the waste to produce organic manure for their homes. You can use it for your home gardening and all that. So there is a lot that the farmers, as you are coming in, we do those trainings regularly and show you the possible means of you making extra income, not only from you supplying us with grains, but you can recycle your waste also to generate. I will still want to come back to this aspect of how do you get to your customers or your clientele, and what are the best strategies that are good for your cooperative around Limbe and Cameroon as a whole? Yeah, how do we get we don't have a major challenge with clientele because there is high demand. We cannot even supply what they need because we don't have the capacity to produce what all the agro-industries need in Cameroon. So about that, most of our clients are even willing to come to us to get product because they see that the cost of importing is higher than when you produce locally. When you can sort out locally, it's faster and cheaper. So they are willing to work with us. But the challenge there is we, the farmers, don't have the capacity to produce. Most of the farmers don't even have access to funding. Most of the farmers don't have the land to cultivate, which is a major challenge when it comes to. What you say is that the demand is there is high demand, but the produce is low. The produce is low. We don't have produce. We cannot even meet up. Cameroon imports up to 5,000 to 50,000 tons of maize monthly. If you look at the statistic online, we import maize, we import groundnut, we import soya beans, we import wheat. So absolutely, if we are importing, means what we even consume is still small. So there is. And this government policy of import substitution, how do you implement that in your cooperative? Because government wants to see that all its policies on import substitutions are fulfilled. How do you implement it in your cooperative? Yeah, that's why I said we have scaled our project in terms of working as an import substitution project to reduce the importation of this. And that's what I'm saying. The major thing the government has to do is to see how to identify key actors, people who have statistics, people who are on the ground, people who actually felt what it meant to plant a hectare of farm up to you take to the market, not somebody discussing that on the document. And COFARCOOP is a practical example We have realistic information. We have first-hand data. We work with cooperative. We work with farmer. We know the market. We know who needs what at what time, at what date, which is an important aspect. But the state is not helping us in terms of bringing import substitution. They have to identify people who are not functional and make them to become proactive, so others can learn from us. Because you cannot, for example, COFARCOOP is at a stage where I can say together with the state and together with the cooperative members, we have invested close to 700 million, but we are not still productive.
Yes, we said a few minutes ago that the demand is high, but the hands to do this labor is very small. So what is the role of youth and community leaders in what you are doing? How do you engage the youth and communities where you actually operate in Diboncha?
Well, that's a very impressive question. What we do we try to do with the community first is we try to train the women, because when you really talk about production of maize, it is always generally believed by the society or by the community that women are the one producing maize. So we have that confidence to work more with the women, because the women are like the backbone of the family. They see it, but they cannot produce more. So what we are doing is we impact them with knowledge. We try to train them to know that we have what we call in our system, in our program, we call Farmers Business Kit, where we train you on good agricultural practices, when to plant, when to apply, and how to apply your fertilizer, and to encourage you use hybrid seed to increase your productivity, because most often they don't know about it. They prefer using local variety, which doesn't give you the tonnage, but you spend the same cost. And with these trainings, it helps them to understand that corn is business, grains is business.
Farming as a whole is business. Yes, it's not about consumption.
Consumption. So they had that mentality. It was just for consumption. And now that we are talking about import substitution. We try to train them, bring them to understand that it's a business. Just like you deal with cocoa, it's the same thing you can do with corn. It's the same thing you can do with groundnut. It's the same thing you can do with wheat. So it's a business that you can feed your family. You can live comfortably. For example, we work with some partners like in Israel. The richest people in Israel and USA are grains producers. They talk in millions. Government doesn't even intervene, because they know that they are the backbones of the economy. Because when you have a quality hybrid seed, you plant a hectare of farm. That hectare, for example, you use a local variety, can give you 3.5 tons a hectare. But when you use hybrid seed, for example, it gives you 10 tons a hectare. You sell that 10 tons, maybe you make 800 or thousands or so. You remove your cost of production, maybe 300 or so thousands or 400,000. You are left with 400,000. That's an additional income.
Okay. Has your cooperative embraced artificial intelligence into your business, or you afraid that it might make you lose some of your laborers?
Yeah, that is an interesting question also, because the cooperative, we have actually embraced artificial intelligence. We have an app which we call agri-track. This app is what we are using to manage the cooperative. For example, the app is able to tell you, as a producer that is under the cooperative, when to plant.
Good.
What crop is suitable for your soil, because we are bringing in drones. Our vision is to bring agricultural drones, where when you scan the soil with the drones will be able to analyze your soil and tell you the soil deficiency and give you information of what fertilizer to apply. And
what type of crops can do well
on that sector. Now, we have also brought in the app. This app will be able to tell you, if you scan your farm, you take a picture of your crop, whatever disease you face with your crop, as you send it on the link on that app, the app will be able to tell you what disease you are faced in your farm and what possible treatment. And it will link you up with an agronomist, who is registered at the app. That agronomist will advise you with the specific crop, the specific treatment you will get, and where to get it. And on that app, we also have the the chemical shops, the chemical dealers. Now you will be linked with the closest person that can supply you that input or that chemical to treat that farm. But what we discover is accessibility of input for farmers. And a farmer could be 1 kilometer away from his farm and then needs a particular product just to drive to town to get it, which he or she doesn't know that there is dealer are closer to.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years time with your cooperative? Where do you see yourself?
Well, we see COFARCOOP to be a key player in the agro sector in grains management in the next 5 years. Our vision is to be able to produce, we are able to produce at least 50,000 tons of grains monthly. That is our vision for 2025. And we are able to produce grains 50,000 and at least 50,000 of grits to supply to the brewery industry so that we can cut down the production. We are already established well in the grain sector the post-harvest management. Now is the transformation into grits that we are intending to do. And we are also seeing ourselves to be a key players when it comes to agriculture in the country, which means we want to be a reference point where the government could use us as a starting point to others, where they can use us as an example to build from.
Yes, you've been talking about the government all the time. What specific requests were you to give to the Ministry of Agriculture? And let's get this specific request. Look at the camera.
Our specific, the request we want from the state will be, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture, which has been a very key role player in our achievement so far. We would like the ministry to assist us in terms of having operational funding to be able to scale our productions of all the sectors that we are involved. For example, scale up the production of our organic manure called eco growth, which is made up of natural products from corn cobs, mushroom substrate, and fowl droppings. We produce from it. We can produce organic manure eco growth, which is very rich. We also into feed production, animals feed production, which is our major product. We have up to about 5,000 broilers now in the poultry, which we are producing. But we still have challenge in terms of finance to scale these productions, in terms of producing corn, which is the major product for this, for the birds, pigs, whatever we are doing, we need to produce corn in a massive way. And to produce corn in that massive scale, we need land, accessibility of land, good land, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 hectares to produce, to meet up, because our factory capacity is 40-ton capacity per day. So the ministry has already assisted us to be able to bring in these machineries. The machineries are not being used in their full capacity, which is a loss, because the investment already done so far out of this point that we are up to about 700 million put into assets, tractor, a grains processing plant, about 40 tons capacity, thresher, dehusker, dryer, and all that. We have a warehouse, about 200,000 tons capacity. We have a factory building. We have a fish pond, about 50,000 capacity. We have a borehole. We have a solar energy, about 35 kVA capacity, and industrial scale capacity of so if the ministry can put up, make us to be fully operational, for this factory to be exploited by the community and by the country at large.
Making you fully operational means funding.
Means funding. We need funding to scale this activity. We cannot produce to our capacity. We don't have access to produce, to cultivate up to 300, 400 hectares of farm. We don't have the funding to do that. So we are open for the ministry to take us to that light, to link us up with the banks also, because most of the banks that we want to work with, or investors, they don't know that we even exist.
Yes, and what advice, I come back to this question, would you give to somebody who wants to start a similar business like you in the Southwest or anywhere in Cameroon? What advice would you give that person?
The first thing I would like to advise is grains is a very lucrational business. You will never regret it if you get into grains production. I would highly recommend that if the person or any young entrepreneur, if you study what the grains world does in the Western world, you know that what boosted the economy is grains production. You talk about Israel is the best producer of grains. You talk about Brazil is the highest producer of grains, corn, groundnut, all that. You talk about USA is the best producer. Ukraine is the best, highest producer of grains. Everywhere you go is grains, but we were not told in the early age to invest into grains, and grains is 3-month cycle, which means you plant corn if you plant corn now, in the next 3 months you are harvesting, you have money keeps coming back. And we have the market in Cameroon. We have the market not only in Cameroon, in Central Africa, Nigeria, and all that. They still demand from us. We feed them with all these grains. So grains production is a very lucrative business.
And sir, you've been talking about Brazil all the time, Ukraine, Israel, America. People want to know, how did you get to this point of into the agribusiness? Your curricula. What did you study in school? Where did you study? Maybe the young people also want to know so that they can emulate your examples.
Okay. Well, it's a very good question too. I studied, after my advanced level in Cameroon, I went to Nigeria, Enugu, and did agricultural business, which I studied. I had a degree in it, and seeing that I was pushed by that vision, I had to come back to my country. From what I learned, because I learned in Nigeria that they are very, very industrious when it comes to agricultural sector, and we did practical work. In the university, you go to farms, you see an orchard, someone has an orchard of orange, you see only an orchard, you can harvest close to 3,000 bags a day. He's just seated behind his house, you are harvesting, you pay for your harvest, you do everything, you just come and pay. So that inspired me, and I said, okay, my country is rich, we are more fertile. Nigeria has, you go to sunny areas, they have the sunny clay soils and all that, but we have mountainous areas, we are rich in our soil is black and all, but we don't produce in that capacity. And so when I saw that, I said the best thing is to do for me is to come back to my country, implement my ideas that I have, and see how I can be a key player in the agro sector, which has brought me to this level. And I can say the journey of entrepreneurship is not an easy journey. I started with 0 franc. I started with nothing. I just started. I got a hectare of land, which I begged from a friend that I just want to produce corn and all that, and I started planting. When I planted 1 hectare, after the 1 hectare I made some money, I saw that it's growing. I was able to add a few women. I hired a few women that I need you guys to help me plant. That is how my journey started. And
today you're proud of it?
Today I'm proud of it because I started with 1 hectare. I can say that I have close to 200 hectares, which is available for me to work with.
Yes, and Mr. Baiye, how are you surmounting the crisis that have hit the Southwest region and Northwest region? How it has definitely impacted negatively on your agribusiness, but how have you surmounted the crisis?
Yeah, the crisis has 2 phases. I can say it has impacted us negatively and positively. For the negative aspect, I don't want to be judgmental about saying that it is all negative or positive, but I think it all depends on an individual. It depends on the mindset. Me being an entrepreneur, I was able to shift, to readjust that I'm faced with crisis. Wow, first
that's adaptation.
Adaptation, and that is the role as an entrepreneur. You should be flexible. You should have the aspect of flexibility. Understand when there's something wrong. I use the crisis in some parts as my advantage, and I use it as it's impacting me negatively. I'm also trying to look around, to coil it around, to use it in my own for the advantage of the cooperative. How do I mean negatively? One, we don't have access to go to the farm sometimes. I've lost close to 20-30 hectares of farm abandoned. But that did not say that I should fold my arms and say I've given up. There are periods that you don't go to the farm, you abandon, you do nothing. There are periods that workers are not there, everybody is scared to go to the farm, so you lose your crop in the field, you abandon everything. But that also gave me a push that you should believe that you can still go to some other areas and do this business and start back. If you lose 20 hectares last month, you can start with 1 hectare, you can take you back to 20 hectares.
And that's what you just did? That's
what I did. And also, with the crisis coming in, the state has been very helpful.
Supportive, right?
Supportive in terms of people doing agri-businesses in the Southwest, or business in the Southwest. Some don't know, because what I discover is a lot of us youths will wait for information to meet us. We don't go where information is shared. We don't seek for information. I would use an example of myself. The cooperative has a 10-year exoneration given to us by the state. And that was not handed. They didn't just call us at COFARCOOP, you have been given 10 years exoneration. We have to go to Yaoundé, seek for the audience of the minister.
The paperwork and everything
Paperwork.
you have the document.
We owned a 10 years exoneration where we are not paying TVA. And that 10 years exoneration did not just end there. We were also able to use this in a practical activity. We were able to clear the containers that where the machine came from China for the drying unit from China. We didn't pay TVA. So it is a helpful aspect, because this aspect, when the crisis started, the decree signed by the Prime Minister in 2019, that company operating the South and North and Far North, which are impacting the community, are exonerated from TVA. We use that text, and that text works miraculous for us, and we were able to clear the container without paying TVA. And now we are proud to say we have installed the machines, and it didn't just end there. Also, that the state has been able to give us solar energy. We've been seeking for solar for power, because where we build the factory there is no light. So to get light from Benio, it was costly, almost about 60 million. But pushing with the state, we went to Yaoundé, asked, we can't do such an investment, hundreds of millions, without us having light. And we were given a 35 kVA solar energy, which powers the unit. So we don't just sit and wait. As a Cameroon, no matter the difficulties we face, there's always a way out that can take you to another level.
Yes, difficult, as you say. I want you to look at the camera again for this very important message. What are you going to tell potential funding partners to do to help you scale up your business?
Well, we are seeking partnership with every Cameroonian. Even we are looking at in a way that we can partner with everyone. For example, there is what we call crowdfunding, where you can invest your 10,000, and from that 10,000, we can give you dividends after quarterly. So we are calling on all Cameroonians, diasporas, the national, international, even the government and all that, to invest in making to scale out this business. Because we already have a track record. COFARCOOP has an asset worth about 700 million on ground, which is, we have the buildings, we have the machineries, we have the tractor. But what we want to do now is scale the productions in terms of producing mushroom, producing soya, producing corn beans, producing grease, producing fish, about 10 tons of fish monthly, producing the eco-food, organic fertilizer. So there is so many potential for COFARCOOP for growth, which any person that invests, whether it's a diaspora, whether you are in the country, whether it's your 10,000, when you invest, we are able to pay back return of investment quarterly, because our activities are scaled to operate quarterly. We can produce corn in the next quarter, we can produce fish in quarterly, we can produce eco-growth, the fertilizer quarterly as well. So we can return investment back to our investors on a quarterly basis. And there is a lot good aspect in for COFARCOOP. We are not asking our investors to come in and start for us to start creating factories, building machines, importing machines. We already have all this in place, and it is a visibility. There are reality on ground, which I think with this, it gives them a guarantee of their investment, because you are investing in an already existing business with a track record. We have here our financial statements, 3 years, 4 years financial statements that shows everything that we've been doing, how we scale. Each year at least we add more things into, more equipment, more resources into our business. So we have a good track record. We are willing and ready to work with anybody. So, and we want to say that Cameroonians should use this advantage. We don't have investors. We don't have investment minds in Cameroon. We need people to believe in investment. Investments, you can benefit a lot when you invest in a business like this. For example, farming is not something that fails. If you are able to produce and supply and you are paid instantly, these people are in need. Mostly the brewery industries, they import a lot of these things, and we have the capacity to produce. We have the land here. There is land. There is that market. We have the unit already in place. What we need is to scale the production to be able to make up.
Thank you for talking. It was a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Baiye. Thank you for talking.
It's good meeting you again, Mr. Bonnier. I hope we do this another time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.